StormWatch number 21, written by Jim Starlin, art by Yvel Guichet. So, last issue, they were coming down to this planet, seeking out this strong psychic source. StormWatch got involved in this weird-ass holy war thing. It seems like it won't matter. And then Lobo got recruited by the timeline-changing aliens to help them out. This issue picks up with them seemingly in Lobo's psyche and saying, like, wait a minute, hold on, this guy exists in multi-dimensional realities, but like multiple ones of them. That's weird. He should only exist in one. Why is this creature of Lobo so powerful and so strong? Guess we'll find out. So we see after last issue, the Canaanites are protecting Stormwatch from the Bruticus warriors. And Stormwatch is basically like, hey, we're kind of on a stealth mission and we can't have you guys following us around, so we're going to bounce. And Canaanites say, okay, well, we'll give you this little camera thing. And if it sees trouble, then we'll come running for you. And it's like, all right, sure, why not? So at that point, Midnighter says, hey, look, a bar. Let's go to the bar. And they all make their way in. And Jenny is like, excuse me, I am nowhere near old enough to come into this bar. And they're like, we don't care. Don't drink if you don't want to. And we see the psychic alien things have brainwashed a Bruticus soldier to attack Stormwatch again. Lobo wakes up and Jenny's immediately like, oh, I sense the psychic energy. It's super nearby. And we see Lobo is literally right across the bar from them. And he grabs a bottle of liquor, sits down next to Stormwatch, chugs it all, and then passes out on the table. And everyone's like, oh, hey, that's Lobo. We got files on him. But he's not a psychic. So why is he, like, setting off Jenny's sensors or whatever? And they're like, oh, well, he must be a conduit for the psychic energy. So at that point, Jenny's about to read him because he's totally out at that point. But then, wouldn't you know it, the, whatever it's called, the Bruticus, they show back up to attack Stormwatch again. And then we see the Canaanites as well are being brainwashed by the psychic aliens to also attack Stormwatch. So Hellstrike, who I'm just barely remembering the name of, is reporting back to base. He's like, hey guys, don't worry about it. We'll have these Bruticus soldiers taken down in no time. But then the Canaanites show up as well, and it's like, wait, crap. Okay, we might need some help after all. This is going tits up. So they're all fighting. Lobo comes to his senses and just starts walking away. Jenny and the Weird are like, oh, wait, Lobo's leaving. We need to chase him down. Let's go get him, and then I'll use my powers to read him. And so Weird restrains Lobo only because he's too drunk to really fight back. Jenny looks inside him, and inside his psyche are the aliens. And they introduce themselves as the Collective with a K. And they say, here's the deal. We're just going to explain everything to you, Jenny. We are psychic beings from, like, the future or whatever. We protect the timeline. That's our thing. We see the timeline splitting. If one timeline leads to, like, massive casualties, we roll that timeline back and we go with a different one. And, like, please note all of this could be lies. Like, they explicitly say, like, oh, yeah, this ploy should be effective. So I don't know what in this is true. But regardless, they're saying, yep. And then sometimes, like, instead of, if we go too far down a timeline and realize we made an error that's just like a couple junctures back, we can just erase that whole timeline and go back. That's our power. That's what we can do. And Jenny's like, so you guys are just playing God and toying with everyone's existence. And it's like, yeah, but to save countless deaths. Like, we only do it for that reason. Anyway, here's the thing. Hundreds of thousands have died in this war between the Bruticus and the Canaanites. Lobo was eventually going to come to join one of those sides, no matter which timeline we went down, except for one. And whichever side he had would have not only won the war against the other, but also conquered numerous galaxies. And, like, they all would have had mass genocide because Lobo's just that crazy. And so Jenny's like, okay, so you're going to kill Lobo? It's like, well, we can't quite kill him because he is, like, super powerful for some reason. But we figured out that there is a timeline where Lobo dies, but it requires Lobo to be in this specific location at this specific time. And Jenny says, why don't you just put him there then? It's like, well, we're like psychic beings. We don't really have a physical form. We can't just push him there. We need you to push him there. And she's like, okay, why should I help you? If you got like, how do I know to trust you? And it's like, I can't convince you of that. Like that's you're gonna have to do your own thing. However, you billions will die if you do not help us. And the moment you have to make your decision is when Lobo begins to glow. And so she snaps back to reality, and immediately Lobo starts glowing. And she's like, "Crap! Okay, I thought I'd have more time. I gotta make the choice here. I'm gonna save billions of lives." And so she uses a psychic blast or telekinetic or whatever to push Lobo to where he needs to be, and she knows the coordinates innately. We see that contact was reestablished with Stormwatch HQ. The team has managed to take out the Canaanites and the Bruticus, but they are definitely worse for wear. And they're like, wait a minute, hold on, where's Jenny? What's going on with Jenny right now? So she manages to throw Lobo to the location where he needs to be at. The collectives are looking on like, oh, hey, she actually managed to do it. Sweet. So now we can finally launch our master plan. And as Lobo gets to his feet, a huge burst of energy comes out of him. He is like basically Super Saiyan at this point. And Jenny, the rest of Stormwatch show up because they all see the energy burst. And Jenny's like, guys, I think I might have been played. I think this might all have been a ploy to get Lobo more powerful. And at that point, Stormwatch HQ pops in and just like, actually, this may have been my fault. I didn't tell you guys everything like that you needed to know, and as such, we may have all just been played by these time manipulating alien guys. So, yeah, well, we can't really do much now. Let's just see what happens, and then we'll deal with it afterwards. And then the collectives say, engaging the timeline ebony, and so begins the final phase of our greatest manipulation. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. Like, I get the gist of it. I get this very broad sense of aliens have manipulated the timeline to get us into this particular thing. For some reason, Lobo is the special, and he is able to do these things, I guess, that even the collective don't understand. But, like, here's the issue when you make it so that your explanation story is also a lie. I don't know what in that is true. I have no idea. Is their name even the collective? I'm calling them that, but it might not be. I don't know how much of that story they gave to Jenny to trust. Clearly, they did not have the best interests of, like, Jenny, at least at heart, and that it's not going to kill Lobo. But, like, how much of the other stuff was true? I guess this was the issue I was finally looking forward to, like, okay, I'm going to finally get a grip on what in the hell Jim Starlin's doing. And because he introduced their origin story as a lie, I still have nothing. So it's continuing. That's the most I can really say is this story has been continuing. I am getting more of a grip on who the characters are in terms of Hellstrike and the Weird, but even then it's tenuous at best. So I'm going to give this one I got to give it just like a flat 5. Like, it's nothing awful. I'm not upset with the issue, but like, I'm upset with the fact that I just don't quite, it reminds me of early Legion of Superheroes, where I just never felt like I had a grip on what was going on. And I that doesn't make me feel good when I just don't know what's happening in a book. So yeah, we'll see where we get eventually. But for now, a 5.